Thus being fixed, one must render service unto the Supersoul, situated in one's own heart by his omnipotency. Because he is the almighty personality of Godhead, eternal and unlimited. He is the ultimate goal of life, and by worshipping him, one can end the cause of the conditioned state of existence. Zoom out a little bit. Okay. All right. Purport. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 61, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the all-pervading, omnipresent Supersoul. Therefore, one who is a yogi can worship him only because he is the substance and not illusion. Every living creature is engaged in the service of something else. A living being's constitutional position is to render service, but in the atmosphere of Maya or illusion, or the conditioned state of existence, the conditioned soul seeks the service of illusion. A conditioned soul works in the service of his temporary body, bodily relatives like the wife and children, and the necessary paraphernalia for maintaining the body and bodily relations, such as the house, land, wealth, society, and country. But he does not know that all such renderings of service are totally illusory. As we have discussed many times before, this material world is itself an illusion, like a mirage in the desert. In the desert there is an illusion of water, and the foolish animals become entrapped by such an illusion and run after water in the desert, although there is no water at all. But the lack of water in the desert should not lead one to conclude that there is no water at all. The intelligent person knows very well that there is certainly water in the seas and oceans, but such vast reservoirs of water are far, far away from the desert. One should therefore search for water in the vicinity of the seas and oceans, and not in the desert. Every one of us is searching after real happiness in life, namely eternal life, eternal or unlimited knowledge, and unending blissful life. But foolish people who have no knowledge of the substance search after the reality of life in the illusion. This material body does not endure eternally, and everything in relation with this temporary body, such as wife, children, society, and country, also changes along with the change of the body. This is called samsara, or repetition of birth, death, old age, and disease. We would like to find a solution for all these problems of life, but we do not know the way. Herein it is suggested that anyone who wants to make an end to these miseries of life, namely repetition of birth, death, old age, and birth, death, disease, and old age, must take to the process of worshipping the Supreme Lord and not others, as it is also ultimately suggested in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 65. If at all we want to end the cause of our conditioned life, we must take to the worship of Lord Sri Krishna, who is present in everyone's heart by his natural affection for all living beings, who are actually the parts and parcels of the Lord. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 61. The baby in the lap of his mother is naturally attached to the mother, and the mother is attached to the child. But when the child grows up and becomes overwhelmed by circumstances, he gradually becomes detached from the mother, although the mother always expects some sort of service from the grown-up child and is equally affectionate toward her child, even though the child is forgetful. Similarly, because we are all part and parcel of the Lord is affectionate to us, and he always tries to get us back home, back to Godhead. But we, the conditioned souls, do not care for him and run instead after the illusory bodily connections. We must therefore extricate ourselves from all illusory connections of the world and seek reunion with the Lord, trying to render service unto him because he is the ultimate truth. Actually, we are hankering after him as the child seeks the mother, and to search out the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we need not go anywhere else because the Lord is within our hearts. This does not suggest, however, that we should not go to the places of worship, namely the temples, churches, and mosques. Such holy places of worship are also occupied by the Lord because the Lord is omnipresent. For the common man, these holy places are centers of learning about the science of God. When the temples are devoid of activities, the people in general become uninterested in such places, and consequently, the mass of people gradually become godless, and a godless civilization is the result. Such a hellish civilization artificially increases the conditions of life and existence becomes intolerable for everyone. The foolish leaders of a godless civilization try to devise various plans to bring about peace and prosperity in the godless world under a patent trademark of materialism. And because such attempts are illusory only, the people elect incompetent blind leaders one after another who are incapable of offering solutions. If at all we want to end this anomaly of a godless civilization, we must follow the principles of revealed scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and follow the instruction of a person like Sri Sukadeva Goswami who has no attraction for material gain. Om Agyanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utav Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Evam Swachitte Swata Eva Siddha Atma Priyortho Bhagavan Anantaha Tam Nirvrito Niyatartho Bhajeta Samsara Hetu Paramascha Yatra. Thus being fixed, one must render service unto the super soul situated in one's own heart by his omnipotency, because he is the almighty personality of Godhead, eternal and unlimited. He is the ultimate goal of life, and by worshipping him one can end the cause of the conditioned state of existence. So in a class last week I had covered up to the last paragraph but did not cover the last paragraph, so I wanted to speak on this primarily to read from Bhakti Vikas Maharaj's upcoming book, Mood and Mission of Srila Prabhupada. I have an old draft copy of it, which I cannot share, but I certainly can read out of. And I thought I could use this opportunity, the short time because what Srila Prabhupada is referring to over here, Maharaj is very nicely analyzed in that book, Mood and Mission. And several other things are presented, but it will give all the devotees here a glimpse of how that book is structured and why actually Bhakti Vikas Maharaj considers it to be a monumental work than Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava. So Srila Prabhupada writes here, after explaining the omnipotency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he says that this does not mean that people don't go to the temples, churches, or mosques for worship. The Lord is present there as well. I mean, because the Lord is omnipresent. Omnipresent, I'm sorry, not omnipotent. Omnipresent, he is present in the temple too. Recently we had a guy, Mayavadi. He was he attended the kirtan. He felt very, very blissful during the kirtan. The moment the class started, he decided to walk out of the temple. And when asked why, he said he was going to go and search for Krishna. And when we said, well, Krishna is, he himself says that Krishna is present everywhere. So when the devotee offered the argument that, well, Krishna is present everywhere, he's present here too. Yeah, but what did he say?
Feels like a jail.
He feels like a jail or something like that. But Krishna is present everywhere. Why, even he's present in a jail. Why, you're self-realized super, Mahatma. You should be able to realize Krishna even in a jail. Krishna was, he literally appeared in a jail. But you don't understand anything about Krishna. And therefore you speak all nonsense. So, Srila Prabhupada is making the point that, and most people who are filled with misconceptions, they do not like to go to a place or a temple where they speak philosophy. They like all the ritualistic part. I mean, it's interesting that here Srila Prabhupada is saying that here that these in the temples are devoid of activities. And what activity is he speaking? He's speaking that the holy places like the temples are centers of learning about the signs of God. When Srila Prabhupada is speaking of devoid of activities, he is not referring to the ritualistic deity worship that happens in any temple or in most temples. He's referring to them being as centers of learning, and as that being the activity. See, sometimes when in a hall where you expect a lot of people to be present, if there's only 2 people, you say there's nobody there. It doesn't mean there's actually nobody, there's still 2 people there. But you can say in that way, meaning that it's equal to nobody being there. It's almost equivalent to nobody being there. So in this way, when Srila Prabhupada is referring to the temple devoid of activities, he is emphasizing the point that the temples are centers of learning, which means that they may have a lot of other activities, but if they're devoid of the activity of teaching, in this case, Krishna consciousness, then they're practically devoid of activity. That's what we can infer from this purport. Because it's not that temples are devoid of activity. If a temple is open, then there's some activity going on. Something is going on. But Srila Prabhupada is saying devoid of activity, meaning they are centers, they are devoid of them being centers of learning. And because of that, people in general become uninterested in such places, and consequently the mass of people gradually become godless, and a godless civilization is the result. So there's 2 ways to understand this. One is that if temples are not centers of learning, people are uninterested in the temple. Why? What is the example? Is that true? Or I mean, for instance, you find a lot of, how can we understand that statement? I can postulate, but one way in which we can understand this. So for instance, in India, you go to temple, so many people go to the temple, you open a temple, you just do puja, that's what they do. Yesterday we had a banker come to us. He was from a Hindu background. And that was his brother. So what do you do here? You do pujas? That's his expectation, that as a temple you do puja. But actually, in our temple, I mean, we do have puja, we have artik, but we don't have all the, we don't even have all the elements of puja that's found in a temple, in a Hare Krishna temple with deities. But, so for a person like that, it may seem like it's devoid of activity. So people like him are interested in a place where there's only rituals. So how do we understand Srila Prabhupada's statement here that when temples are devoid of the principle of learning, then people become uninterested in such places, and consequently the mass of people gradually become godless? How do we understand that? That people become uninterested in temples?
Prabhupada answers this in the first canto. Prabhupada says that before people used to go to these places of worship, but now that the main reason they go to the temple is for artha, their material desires fulfill, economic purposes. But now that's already been taken care of.
Exactly, it's a great, yeah.
So because of that, there's no need for them to go to
Yes, that is the answer, is that because people come to the temple for economic benefit, the moment they find that economic benefit somewhere else, they become uninterested in the temple. Because the temple was not meant primarily to give economic benefit to people. It was meant to give the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is meant to give knowledge of Krishna consciousness, transcendental knowledge. That you will not find. Nobody else is going to give that. It's only found where sadhus are found. And where sadhus are found, Supreme Personality of Godhead is found, that becomes a holy place. It becomes a dham. It becomes an oasis, a temple, a place of shelter. So, and we can also see how the forthcoming generations they also become uninterested because of the same reason. The forthcoming generations are more exposed to economic benefits offered by through so many other means, through so many other sources, and therefore they feel no inspiration to come to the temple. It's just a ritual. It's just a burden. So in this way, a godless civilization is a result, because people think that God means he's meant to supply my economic benefits, and the moment the communist decides to do that, the communist becomes God. This is the principle in which communism, atheistic communism thrives. Because atheistic communism is directly a result, is directly caused by demons, but the reason these demons actually thrive is because religion got watered down. Is because the principles of religion got watered down. Because the churches and temples decided to pander to people's economic benefits so that they could gather crowds rather than preach the truth. So, as a result, hellish civilization artificially increases the conditions of life and existence becomes intolerable for everyone. Because the economic benefits that demons offer just turns the planet into hell. And that's what we're seeing. And the foolish leaders of a godless civilization try to devise various plans to bring about peace and prosperity in the godless world under a patent trademark of materialism, and because such attempts are illusory only, people elect incompetent, blind leaders, one after another, who are incapable of offering solutions. So, that's what happens when they create all these problems. And who gives the solution? They themselves give the solution. Somebody else comes, oh, we're going to change this, we're going to change the laws, and this and that. See, right now, in front of the Supreme Court is a case in the United States. There is I think it's a website designer. Okay, this is what I think it is. Anyways, something related to this. It's a website designer who did not want to design a marriage, a website for a gay couple's marriage. Right? And so this went to court because this is discrimination. You're discriminating. Just like if somebody was a Christian and a Muslim approaches them for a website for their marriage and you refuse that, then you say, then that's discrimination. You're discriminating on the basis of religion. Or you can say that, say you belong to a particular race, you're white, and you believe that interracial marriages are wrong. So then if a black man and a white woman are getting married, you don't want to make a website for them because you think interracial marriages are wrong. So this is the conundrum that is standing in front of the Supreme Court on one hand, but on the other hand, the Supreme Court is concerned because here is somebody who believes, whose religious beliefs go against homosexuality, and they don't believe in it, and therefore they don't want to do a website for that. But then if the court says you have to do, if the court says you have to do it, then it's forcing a person against their religious beliefs, which goes against the First Amendment. On the other hand, if they allow it, then it opens the door to so many other types of discrimination. Where do you draw the line? Where's the moral code? This is the debate that people, and they don't have a solution. There is no solution to this. What is the solution? The solution is to follow the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. The solution is to hear what Krishna has to say about these things. The solution is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead created these worlds, these races exist, genders exist, everything exists because the Supreme Personality of Godhead created it so. Therefore, we have to look at these things from the perspective of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the only anchor and that is the only point in which we can understand these things. Now, I'm Christian, I'm Muslim, but the thing is, the understanding is that it's all a belief. That this can never be understood in a scientific manner. You cannot understand God, you cannot understand religion, you cannot understand anything that has to do with transcendence in any scientific, systematic way. It's all just basis of belief, it's just how you feel about things. But that's not true. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he presents Krishna consciousness as a science of self-realization. And the temples are meant to be places of learning where this knowledge is taught in a systematic way. Not taught in a sentimental way, but taught in a systematic way. And through that systematic learning, we can actually achieve a civilization where peace and prosperity is possible and is centered around God. And it doesn't become a hellish civilization. It becomes like Ram Rajya. It becomes like the kingdom of God. because there is systematic learning in this regard. Through reasoning and logic we can arrive, but more than reasoning and logic, we have to accept the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not doing so is actually foolish. It's beyond logic, it's beyond reason. You didn't create this world. How can we? It's not about belief. I don't believe that God exists. Nonsense. Nonsense. So, therefore Prabhupada is saying here, if at all we want to end this anomaly of a godless civilization, we must follow the principles of revealed scriptures like the Srimad Bhagavatam and follow the instruction of a person like Sri Shukadev Goswami who has no attraction for material gain. This is the solution. And who's proposing? Nobody's proposing. Even the religion, people of the religion, they're all talking about, it's like, it's incredible how before election season, all the churches and mosques are also talking about the election. Everybody is talking about the election, but nobody is talking about the philosophy. Nobody is willing to analyze these things from a perspective of intelligence that is subservient to what the Supreme Personality of Godhead has stated in the revealed scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. That is not going to bring happiness. That will not bring about peace in society. So Srila Prabhupada had vision. He established temples for this purpose. So I wanted to give a glimpse. So here, this is mood and mission. Basically, I can't scroll there. Anyways. So if you see here, this is under the section specific programs. So anyways, just to go, how many, I know it's going to be hard for all of you to read what's on the left, right? I don't think the Matajis can see anything from there. I don't know how to blow that side up. It's like I can blow this one up. I don't know how to blow that up.
Can't drag it.
Huh? Even if I drag it, it's just...
Press Command plus and then that part of the screen will increase.
Really?
Yeah.
It didn't do it.
It's not.
100 plus? Nope. What it's doing is doing something here.
Oh.
I don't know how to do it.
You can take a
I just
screenshot and
view,
that's
edit,
for sure.
zoom, view, zoom.
You could take like a screenshot of it.
Hmm?
And then you can take a screenshot of it and then
Yeah, well, what it does is this is the zoom here. It just zooms this. See?
That's what I'm saying. Take a screenshot of what's on the left.
No, but I have to scroll through. It's a lot. Anyways, so if you see here, Maharaj begins by saying, who is Srila Prabhupada? And then he prefaces the need of this book. Who is this book meant for? Loyalty to Srila Prabhupada's vision. Mood and mission. Definition. What is mood and mission? Maharaj defines that. Scope of this book. And then, of course, he has author submission, editorial notes, acknowledgements. And then he goes on, understanding Srila Prabhupada and his mission, epistemology and hermeneutics, Vapu and Vani, innovations, adjustments, and deviations. Further consideration in understanding Srila Prabhupada, his unparalleled achievements, a summary of Srila Prabhupada's miraculous accomplishments. And he goes on to, and this is really amazing. So first, he says praise by scholars. He takes all the scholars, what the scholars said. Then Srila Prabhupada predicted in scripture. Then he goes through the different Bhagavatam verses, other sources, Padma Purana. There's a Sri Vaishnava verse from the Tiruvaimuri. And Srila Prabhupada's exalted position, the title Srila Prabhupada, representative of Parampara, genuine Acharya all the way. Srila Prabhupada's fighting spirit, a brilliant visionary and strategist, not just another guru, Vaikunta Mahapurusha, a hard sell, Lord Chaitanya's mission and Srila Prabhupada's role within it. Symptoms of Kali Yuga. Lord Chaitanya appeared to counter Kali's effect. Prominent followers of Lord Chaitanya and their duties. Fulfilling Lord Chaitanya's prediction. Fulfillment of the previous acharyas. So Prabhupada is the fulfillment of the previous acharyas. Still going on with Srila Prabhupada's glories. I was just so amazed how much Maharaj is absorbed in Srila Prabhupada that he's able to just bring so much nectar about him. It's like, Shakti Avesh Avatar. Great among the greats, Jagat Guru, pure devotee, Nitya Siddha Mahabhagavata, best disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta. And then to substantiate that, he has appreciation from God brothers and other Gaudiya Math sources. The present authority, his Guru knew, nobody else.
That's
Nobody else would have done it. The founder Acharya of ISKCON. His mood encapsulated. So now it goes on to another section. His mood encapsulated. And factors in Srila Prabhupada's success. And he goes on to so many points. Books being published, devotees joining, youngsters participating, real success, love and trust, the secret of success, faith in Guru and Krishna, giving credit to his Guru. Oh God, I have to go faster. Appreciation of his mission. Summary definition of his mission. So he presented his mood. So far now it comes to the mission. So in the mood, it's also about Srila Prabhupada, because you have to understand who he is before you understand his mood. So Maharaj presented who he is, and what his mood was. Then he goes on to mission. Summary definition of his mission. Effects of spreading the movement. And then judged by the result, serving and glorifying the previous acharyas. 7 prime purposes of ISKCON. ISKCON's objectives from the Constitution of Association. Verses that encapsulate his mission. Authorized movement. So this is an authorized movement. This is the mission of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya and their servants. Then he goes on to the objectives of this movement. To make everyone peaceful and happy. It's manifesto based on Srimad Bhagavatam. It's an educational movement. This is an educational movement. So I'll read 1 or 2 quotes here. The Krishna consciousness movement is to educate people to come to the responsibility of human life. Men are living like cats and dogs, spoiling the duration of human lives, but actually preparing to transmigrate again into the degraded species among the 8.4 million forms of life. The Krishna consciousness movement is anxious to serve human society by teaching people to perform devotional service, which can save a human being from being degraded again to animal life. There's so much I can read here, but so why these books are there? Just to remind you to become lawful. But if you don't take advantage, then you are misusing your life. This preaching work, this publication of books, literature, magazines, the Krishna consciousness movement, everything is to remind you how we are being controlled, who is the supreme controller, how your life can be successful, how you can be relieved from this control life, how you can get freedom. This is the movement. This Krishna consciousness movement is for that purpose. So just see this one quote is so potent, so amazing. You're not able to still see? Even on the right? No, it's too small.
Yeah, it's too small.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
AC button.
Oh God, how do I blow this?
Just do that on the side over there.
There you go. Go the other way. Go the other way.
But I need to be able to see this too.
If you go the other way, then you will still be able to see it.
We can hear it from the...
Okay, I guess, yeah, all right. Okay, then, Krishna consciousness and Hinduism. Krishna consciousness is not Hinduism, that's one of the first titles. And so, Krishna consciousness is not Hinduism, not restricted to Hindus, deluge of love of Godhead, create Vaikuntha in this world, to become friends of everyone, to bring everyone to the highest interest, gives opportunity for liberation going back to Godhead, guarantee for serious practitioners, prime benediction, open to all. Okay, let me scroll here. Then, benefits even lower species. Everyone should join. To give association of saintly devotees. To save the world from rogues and demons. Condemnation of modern civilization. Revolutionary movement. For both material and spiritual well-being. Prestigious movement. This is a prestigious movement. Prabhupada said this is a prestigious movement. It's not a movement that we have to shy and go and hide ourselves in the dark. Sum and substance of his mission. He's still talking about his mission. It's amazing how much stuff is there in this book. The 4 aphorisms. Books are the basis. Preaching is the essence. Utility is the principle. Purity is the force. So then Maharaj goes on to explain each one of them. Each one of them with quotes of Srila Prabhupada. Then, unity and cooperation. This probably is done by now. This is from August 16, 2017. So, okay, specific programs. Chanting the Hare Krishna movement. So, it's about chanting, public chanting, and distribution of prasadam. Then, book production and distribution. Brihad Mridanga, life and soul, essence of this mission, real preaching, books and temples, relative importance. More inspirational quotes, books in colleges, the BBT party, books in all languages. Back to Godhead magazine. Now ISKCON centers, this is what I wanted to read today. Purpose of opening centers. The basic and pragmatic purpose of establishing ISKCON temples is summarized by Srila Prabhupada thus. In many places throughout the world, we are constructing communities to give shelter to devotees and worship the deity in the temple. So the communities are to give shelter to the devotees. They are meant to give shelter. ISKCON centers are open to all. The Krishna consciousness movement invites everyone from all over the world without discrimination as to caste or creed to come to its centers and cultivate spiritual life perfectly. Oasis for spiritual cultivation. Enthused by the expansion of ISKCON oasis, Srila Prabhupada envisioned them in every town and village. This is Prabhupada. This is a quote from a letter on 18 December 1970. The more we open branches, the more I feel encouraged. These branches are like the oasis in a vast desert. In the desert, there is no water. But occasionally, if one is fortunate, he may come in contact with an oasis and he is saved. Similarly, in this material world, we are drying up due to lack of spiritual knowledge. Our ISKCON centers are meant to give relief to the dried up conditioned souls who are searching after the nectar of joyful life. So I request you and all other members of ISKCON to flood the world with Krishna conscious centers and realize the prediction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As many towns and villages there are, my name will be known. Another angle on why they are oasis. These ISKCON centers are the only shelter to be protected from all these rascals. So it's also an oasis to protect us from all the rascals. So what are the other purposes of the center? So let me go to the, of course, Prabhupada is stating here, so to offer devotee association. The Krishna consciousness movement is creating many centers just to create devotees, so that by associating with the members of such a center, people will automatically become uninterested in material activities, material affairs. We are opening so many centers all over the world just to give opportunity to all classes of men to associate with devotees and develop your love of God. This is the purpose, and we have no other purpose. These centers are being opened. So, okay, facility for hearing and chanting. This is directly related to the purport that we read today. The Krishna consciousness movement is stated for this purpose, so that hundreds of ISKCON centers may give people a chance to hear and chant, to accept the spiritual master, and to disassociate themselves from persons who are materially interested, for in this way one can make solid advancement in going back home, back to Godhead. We are opening centers all over the world to give everyone a chance to hear the message of Lord Krishna in order to go back home, back to Godhead. This temple, these ISKCON centers are open just to give everyone the chance of hearing about Krishna, so that his dirty heart may be cleansed. This is the purpose. We have no other purpose. We are not opening these centers for some material benefit. No, we want to give the whole world spiritual enlightenment, without which they are suffering. We are having so many centers all over the world just to give people the chance to understand the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, one becomes purified and happy. And then temples and training centers. Temples offer to newcomers and congregational devotees opportunities to perform devotional service, which they need to properly make advancement. The temple is meant to invite everyone to come and take shelter of the Lord. The temple is the opportunity for all conditioned souls to render some service to Krishna, either in the matter of hearing, chanting, offering, cleansing, reading, or taking prasadam. It's all for engaging people in service. See, the more we read these kind of things, the more we also have that perspective when we're dealing with people, when we are inviting people to the temple. It's very important. Actually, I had seen a quote here. Yeah, look at this. Those who are actually engaged in Krishna consciousness, in devotional service, associate with them. Don't think that at home you will be perfect. That is not possible. At home there is no such facilities. Here you will get the facilities. Here the devotees, they are actually following the instruction of Madhashraya, one who has taken the shelter. They are rising early in the morning, and at home you will think, oh, what is early in the morning? Let me enjoy sleep. So there is no such facilities at home. Therefore, this institution is started. If you are serious about Krishna consciousness, if you are serious about increasing your attachment for Krishna, then you should come and live with the devotees. So, Srila Prabhupada's program, to a large extent, now in other places, Srila Prabhupada has stated how one can stay at home and one can practice and things like that. But Srila Prabhupada's thrust, the thrust to which he pushed the movement, was he wanted to create communities where devotees would leave this materialistic life and come and stay. Srila Prabhupada didn't make a difference whether, to Srila Prabhupada, he didn't distinguish that, oh, because you're single, you may come, you're grahastha, you get rejected. No, Srila Prabhupada wanted everybody to come. Therefore, he was creating farm communities and other opportunities where devotees could be engaged. So this is important because, most of the time we think that, we can just stay at home, we can just, practice Krishna consciousness, but the temple is very important, and trying to invite people as much as possible to the temple. We have seen, it's our experience, those who are coming to the temple regularly, they make advancement very quickly. Whatever stage of Krishna consciousness they may be in whatever position of life, the more they come to the temple, the more they become fixed up. Those who are not coming to the temple regularly, you can see them to be floundering, because the facility for hearing and chanting is not present. And it's not just the facility, as Srila Prabhupada is saying, when they associate with devotees who have taken shelter, they will become uninterested in material activities. That's the problem. You don't become uninterested in material activities. You may like hearing, you may like reading, but without the association of devotees, sometimes it's difficult to actually realize how unnecessary material life is. So there's so many quotes again. We'll read this last quote here. Shravanadi suddha chitte karaye uday. Love of God is dormant in everyone, and if one is given a chance to hear about the Lord, certainly that love develops. See, Prabhupada's conviction that if we speak about Krishna, definitely he will become benefited. He will be benefited. Definitely that love develops. Sometimes we feel, are we speaking? Is there any effect? Prabhupada didn't have any doubts when he presented Krishna consciousness. He didn't have doubts as to the effect of Krishna. He never had doubts as to the effect of book distribution. Prabhupada didn't have doubts about these things, because Prabhupada was so convinced of Krishna. He was convinced that Krishna consciousness is real, it works. And he was able to communicate that. And you see that devotees who have that conviction, they attract like a magnet. Because the truth is, the falsities of this world, a pure devotee understands that all the falsities of this world is just a mirage. It doesn't have an existence of its own. What is it standing? Whereas the truth of Krishna is standing on Krishna's own strength, Krishna's own energy. Who is real? Krishna is real. Krishna is the only real. Whatever is related to Krishna is the only reality that exists. Krishna is real. Whatever exists in this world is connected to Krishna, and that is reality. It's his energies. There's nothing. It is nothing but Krishna and Krishna's energies and everything, and how they are all related to Krishna, both material and spiritual world. But and a devotee like Srila Prabhupada sees that, and he presents Krishna consciousness with that conviction, that forceful conviction. It shocks the person who hears it. When he chants, he has full conviction with his chanting. This chanting is so powerful. Even the recording of Srila Prabhupada's chanting is so powerful, so potent. There's just nothing like it. Prabhupada was very convinced, and these temples, so Prabhupada continuing here, we simply give people the chance to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and give them prasadam to eat. And the actual result is that all over the world, people are responding to this process and becoming pure devotees of Lord Krishna. We have opened hundreds of centers all over the world just to give people, in general, a chance to hear about Krishna and accept Krishna prasadam. These two processes can be accepted by anyone, even a child. It doesn't matter whether one is poor or rich, learned or foolish, black or white, old or still a child. Anyone who simply hears about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and takes prasadam is certainly elevated to the transcendental position of devotional service. So much more can be read. So much, there's still more in this book. So I'll stop here. If there are any questions or comments, it's 8:30. There's no questions. It's 8:30. There's no time for any questions or comments. Sorry. It's the marathon. But there's this book is really a benediction, because when we want to learn, everything is there in one book. I mean, you can refer to so many quotes on different programs. It's just all in one book. It's just amazing, and it's all presented in a perspective. It's great. I just can't even fathom how this even came about, and I'm seeing it in front of my eyes. It's unbelievable. Okay. Huh?
Book distribution quote.
Okay, maybe we'll do that book distribution quote from this book today. Okay, well, it's here. Book production and distribution. So, real preaching. Many fanatical spiritual movements have come and gone, but without the flawless philosophy of Krishna, they cannot stand. Therefore, I especially want that my books and literature should be distributed profusely. This is our substance, real philosophical information, and not some weak sentiments. So try for this, to give all men this Krishna philosophy, and many real devotees will come back with us, back to home, back to Godhead. I am encouraged to see the report of your book sold, because it proves that you consider it your responsibility to see that more and more people are reading our literature. Actually, this is the solid basis of our preaching work. No other movement has got such profuse authority for preaching. We are the ones who have the authority to preach. Prabhupada is saying, we have the authority to preach. What is our authority? Krishna's authority. There's no greater authority than that. This is our authority. We have the authority. Distribution of books and magazines are our most important activity. Without books, our preaching has no solid basis. So, I mean, there's so many quotes here. Anyways.
One more. You can't do three. Come on. Do four. Do five. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Okay. All programs must go on, but it is a fact that this book distribution program is very, very important. It is real preaching work. This book selling is the real preaching of our cult. Especially when you sell Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam, they will understand what we mean by reading these books.
Let's go.
From your figures of book distribution, you are doing real preaching. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam